It's kind of weird to talk about angels and demons these days, right? In our super scientific world, it can feel, well, a little old-fashioned, almost like a fringe topic. But here's a thought. What if that feeling, that you're kind of out of step if you believe this stuff, what if that's the thing that's totally wrong? Let's dive into it. Because get this, a brand new survey just dropped a statistic that is, well, it's kind of a bombshell. Over 50% of Americans believe in angels and demons. And yeah, that's not or, it's and. All of a sudden, this thing that feels like it's on the fringe, turns out it's totally mainstream. So, where are we getting all this from? Well, this whole explainer is based on a fascinating conversation between Glenn Beck and Billy Hallowell, who you might know from his show Investigating the Supernatural. We're going to break down what they had to say. All right, first up, we've got Section 1, a not-so-secret belief. And this part really gets into a strange paradox. The huge difference between how people feel about believing this stuff and what the actual numbers are telling us. So look at this. This really lays out the core problem they're talking about. On one side, you have how it feels to believe. It can feel a little wonky, maybe even isolating. It might be something you'd keep to yourself, because who wants to be laughed at? But then you look at the reality, at the data, and boom. Believing this stuff actually puts you right in the middle of the majority. And his quote from Glenn Beck really nails the cost of that silence. He says, when you try to hide because you think it's just you miss so much connection and you miss solutions everywhere. He actually compares it to his own past struggles, saying that when you hide something, you can't find help or community. And he makes the point that the exact same thing happens with these spiritual beliefs. Okay, so if so many people believe this, what's it all based on? Is it just faith? Well, that brings us right to our second section, evidence for the unseen. And the argument here is that for a lot of people, this isn't just about blind faith at all. It's about a real, deliberate hunt for actual proof. Take Billy Hallowell, for example. Now, he's a Christian, so he already believed. But he wanted to do more than just take people's word for it. He literally went out looking for concrete evidence, something solid to back up all these stories of angelic or demonic encounters. He wanted to see if there was any there. And according to him, what he found was, and I'm quoting here, staggering. He said he went into his investigation fully expecting to debunk a lot of it, find rational explanations. But instead, he was just floored by how much evidence he found that he felt was actually credible. So what's the point of all this evidence then? Well, it's not just to make believers feel better. The idea presented in the source is that it's a form of what's called apologetics. Basically, it's about using reasoned arguments, evidence, as a tool to help skeptics maybe, just maybe, take a step closer to faith. And they shared this one story that just perfectly captures this idea. You've got this 19-year-old kid, son of a politician, super skeptical about Christianity. An apologist tries all the classic philosophical arguments for God and gets nowhere. Nothing's working. But then the apologist tells them stories about Muslims who converted after having these vivid dreams of Jesus. And for this kid, a light bulb just goes off. That supernatural evidence, that's what got through to him. The point being, for some people, especially younger folks, this kind of proof is way more convincing. Okay, so we've been talking about individual belief. Now, the conversation zooms way out to a much, much bigger picture. This brings us to Section 3, the spiritual battlefield. And this is where they try to reframe, well, pretty much everything going on in the world right now. So the big idea here is this. All the intense division, the darkness we see everywhere, it's not just politics or culture clashes. The argument is that what we're seeing are the physical results, the ripples, of an unseen battle between good and evil. And man, they don't mince words about it. This quote from Beck really paints a picture. He says, "We're watching good and evil angels and demons duke it out all around us right now, and we're just feeling the after effects." Wow. The idea is that this huge cosmic fight is happening, and all the anger and conflict we feel, that's just the fallout. Now, this whole idea isn't just pulled out of thin air. It's really anchored in a specific passage from the Bible, Ephesians 6. And this is key to their whole argument. It basically says that our real fight isn't with other people, flesh and blood. The real struggle is against these unseen spiritual forces of evil that are pulling the strings. So let's just break that down really simply. What we see on the surface is the physical battle, right? Democrats versus Republicans, all the cultural fights. But according to this worldview, the real battle, the source of it all, is one level deeper. It's angelic versus demonic forces. It's good versus evil. Okay, so if there's this invisible war going on, how would we even see it? How does it show up? Well, this is where the whole conversation takes, let's just say, a very unexpected turn. Welcome to Section 4, Aliens or Demons. Think about it. The question, are we alone? That used to be pure science fiction, right? Something you'd talk about at a comic convention. But not anymore. As the source points out, you've got former presidents, high-level government officials, all openly talking about UFOs, or UAP as they call them now. This is a serious, mainstream conversation. And in this discussion, two very different theories get put on the table. Theory 1 is the one we all know. UFOs are visitors from other planets, right? Extraterrestrials. But then there's Theory 2, which is way more out there. It suggests these things aren't from another planet, but from another dimension, that they're actually demonic entities showing up in our world. So why even go there? Why does this matter? Well, according to the source, it's all about being prepared. They make this point that Hollywood, not the church, kind of owns the conversation about evil right now. And they say we can't let that same mistake happen with the alien topic. There's this real sense of urgency in their conversation, like something big is about to drop, and people are going to be desperate for answers. The main takeaway is, you need to figure out what you believe about this, and you need to do it now. Really, the conversation ends with this feeling that something is right around the corner. The conclusion is that we're heading for some crazy, crazy things, and that understanding this spiritual dimension, this unseen battle, isn't just some interesting idea. It's presented as absolutely essential preparation for whatever is coming. And that leaves us with this one big hanging question. The source is basically a call to get ready for something big that's going to force all of us to confront these ideas. The message is, we have to prepare. The question is, prepare for what?